I'm 27 years old. I'm a dentist in London and I earn around 100k a year. A few weeks ago, I genuinely sat there and I actually quit YouTube. I stopped. It sounds stupid considering I only started with only a few videos. My channel is tiny and I've made absolutely nothing from it. But after uploading a few videos, watching the views barely moving and seeing my audience retention at only 25%, I started wondering whether I was just wasting my time. It got even worse when I saw creators who started after me and they're already getting monetized. I'll be honest, that kind of annoyed me. Not because I thought I deserved more success than they did, but because they made me question whether I was doing something fundamentally wrong. I kept asking myself the same question: am I not just cut for this? But the thing is, almost every YouTube video about success comes from someone who has already made it. They look backwards on their journey and they already know how the story ends. It's very easy to tell people to keep going when you've got millions of subscribers sitting behind you. I'm in the completely opposite end. I'm still figuring it out, and I don't know whether this channel is actually going to work. And I don't know if anyone will be watching this a year from now. Maybe that's exactly why I wanted to make this particular video. Because I think the hardest part about YouTube isn't editing videos, not thumbnails, it's not even the algorithm. It's getting through the stage where absolutely nothing seems to happen. One thing I noticed about myself was how obsessed I was with the YouTube studio. I will upload a video, then spend the rest of the day checking the numbers. A few extra views would lift my mood. A bad retention graph would ruin it. It's almost as if I was letting the YouTube Studio app decide whether I'd have a good or bad day. Eventually, I realized how ridiculous that was. Those numbers tell you how a video performed. They don't tell you whether you're becoming a better creator. They're not the same thing. If every upload teaches you something, then you're making progress, whether the algorithm notices or not. So instead of asking, why didn't this video blow up? I started to ask, what would make my next video a little bit better? The other thing that surprised me throughout this journey is how quickly comparison crept in. I wasn't comparing myself to my friends. I'm comparing myself to strangers who I've never met on the internet. I'd find someone who started 6 months ago, see they're already monetized, and that immediately felt like I was behind. Looking back, that doesn't actually make any sense, because I have no idea how many hours they've put into their channel. I don't know how many videos they've deleted and re-uploaded, and how many times they had to change their direction. I'm comparing my version of reality with a tiny snapshot of theirs. That's never going to end well. Then I asked myself something I've never really thought about before. Why did I even start YouTube? It definitely wasn't because I thought it would be easy. In fact, I knew it was going to be difficult. I started because I wanted to build something outside of my job. Dentistry has been really good to me. I'm grateful for it, but the only downside is that my income depends on me turning up to my job every day. And that's true for most people. You exchange your time for money. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I don't want that to be my only option. That's where YouTube became interesting. Not because it's some magical money machine, because it allows you to create something that exists independently of your working hours. You can spend a weekend making one video, and someone might watch it 6 months later, or even 2 years later. Or probably the first ever generation where something like this is even possible. You don't need a TV channel, investors, or permission from anyone. In fact, all you need is a phone and your effort to upload something that can reach the other side of the world. Whether this actually works or not, that's another question. But the opportunity exists, and I think most people underestimate how incredible this opportunity is. Another thing that's changed the way I think about this idea is the opportunity for geographical freedom. Because I started learning about online businesses and YouTube, I've always assumed that your life worked one way. You lived where your job was, so if your career was in London, you lived in London. Your location was decided based on your job. But with online income, that's not the same anymore. Imagine building something online that eventually earns £1,000 a month. Obviously, that's not enough to replace your full-time income in London, but in other parts of the world, like South Asia, that £1,000 a month can go a very long way. Suddenly, with that amount of money, you're not asking, where can I afford to live? You're asking, where do I actually want to live? I think that's much more of an interesting question and opportunity to be in, and it all starts with building something that isn't tied to a physical location. Does that mean that everyone should start something online and move abroad? Of course not. But having that option to do so is an ideal situation to be in. And that's exactly what I'm trying to chase. Not fame, not Lamborghinis, or some fake guru lifestyle. I'm chasing the option because options give you freedom, and freedom gives you choices. When I realized this, I stopped looking at YouTube as a side hustle. I started looking at it as a long term experiment to see what happens if I genuinely commit to something instead of giving up in the moment it becomes difficult. So, now coming back to the idea of me quitting, I realized the problem wasn't YouTube, it was my patience. We're so used to seeing instant results, so much so that we've forgotten how it looks like to build something for many years to then reap the rewards. Think about it like this: you don't go to the gym for 2 weeks and expect to transform your body. You don't learn a language in a month, and you don't start a business on Monday and expect it to be successful by Friday. Yet, for some reason, people upload 10 videos on YouTube, don't get the results they hoped for, and decide this isn't for them. I've probably been guilty of thinking the same way. It's very easy to look at a channel that's getting millions of views and forget that every creator started with 0 subscribers, every single one of them. There was no shortcut for them, they just stayed in the game long enough and outlasted the people who quit. That was another mindset shift for me. Instead of asking whether YouTube was working, I now start asking whether I'd actually given YouTube a fair chance. My honest answer is no. I barely started, only a few uploads, and I've been expecting a life changing result. When a video gets only 10 views, it's easy to think that nobody cares, but the reality is, every creator starts by talking to an empty room. The audience comes later, if it comes at all. That's a gamble, and I think that's why YouTube is such a good teacher. It forces you to separate effort from results. Some videos you work on for days barely get noticed. Another one might unexpectedly outperform everything else. You don't really control that. What you do control is whether you keep improving. Looking back, I think I was chasing certainty. I wanted reassurance that my time wasn't being wasted. I wanted proof that eventually this would work. The truth is, nobody can give you that. There's no guarantee, and maybe that's why so few people succeed in this business. Most of us like certainty. We like knowing that if we put X amount of effort, we'll get Y amount of results. YouTube does not work like that. Neither does starting a business, or investing, or writing a book. Sometimes you work for months before anything changes. This can be frustrating, but it also means that most people never stay long enough to experience the rewards. Another thing I've realized about this channel, even though it hasn't made me a penny yet, it's made me start to think differently. A few months ago, I'd finish work, sit on the sofa, and start watching YouTube. Now, I'd spend my evenings thinking about ideas, how to explain something better, how to tell a story, and how to make my own videos that can be uploaded on YouTube. That's a completely different way of utilizing my time, and actually, I do enjoy it. It feels like I'm building something instead of consuming something. I don't think enough people appreciate that shift. Creating changes the way you look at the world. You start noticing stories everywhere. You pay much more attention, become curious, and instead of asking, what should I watch tonight? You start asking, what can I make tonight? And that's a much healthier mindset to be in. So the goal isn't perfection, progress is. If every few months my videos are noticeably better than they are today, I'll be happy because improvement compounds the same way money compounds. Likewise with your fitness goals as well. Small improvements don't feel significant in the moment, but over many months and even years, the results can become unrecognizable. That's another reason I don't want to quit. Because if I did quit, I'd be quitting before I'd even found out what I was capable of. Maybe this channel never grows. That is possible. Or maybe it grows far beyond anything that I'm expecting. That too is possible. But right now, I genuinely don't know. And weirdly, I'm actually okay with that because for the first time, I'm judging success differently. Success isn't whether this video gets tens of thousands of views, it's whether I keep showing up regardless of how I feel, and obviously keep learning from every video, making it a little bit better than the others. That's the standard I actually want to be living by. One day I might look back at this video and laugh. Maybe I'll have 1 million subscribers. Maybe I'll have a few hundred. Either way, I don't want the reason this channel failed to be because I gave up too early. I'd rather fail knowing I tried and spending a few years of effort, because somewhere along the journey, even if this channel does not get billions of subscribers, I would still learn many lessons along the way. So if you're watching this because you're thinking about quitting your channel, I'd ask you one question. Have you genuinely given your channel a chance? I'm not talking about a few weeks or a few uploads. I'm saying a real chance. Long enough to improve, long enough for you to learn, and long enough for you to become capable of succeeding. because those are very different things. Nobody starts YouTube already knowing how to do it. They become that person by continuing on this journey. Maybe this video gets 5,000 views, maybe 50 views. Honestly, I have no idea. But one thing I do know is this: I'm done making decisions based on short term results. I'm done comparing my beginning to somebody else's success. And I'm also done wondering what would have happened if I've actually committed. Because from this point onwards, I'm treating this channel like a long term project. Not weeks, not months. I'm talking about a few years. Because that's probably how long it takes to build something meaningful. And if you're serious about YouTube, I'd encourage you to think the same way. Don't quit because the algorithm ignored your last upload. Don't quit because another creator is growing faster than you. And don't quit because your first few videos weren't very good. Keep improving, keep experimenting, and keep showing up. Because one day you'll either have a channel that you wanted, or you'll know you gave it absolutely everything. Personally, I think that's a much better outcome than spending the rest of your life wondering whether you quit one upload too early.